Welcome back, everybody, to the Miami Marlins franchise here on MLB The Show 23. Currently, we are pretty much a quarter of the way through the season, and so far the Marlins are playing really well here in the month of May as we currently sit at a record of 20-21, and it really looks like we are going to be competitive into the summer months, which was certainly a big goal I had for this team going into season number one. We talked about scouting for the first time in the last episode, and we're going to continue to talk about it as we get closer to the draft, which is around the All-Star break. Today we've got a pretty busy episode as we're going to be headed down to the farm, taking a look at the AA and AAA teams. We have 3 games that we're going to play in today's episode, one at the AA level, one at the AAA level, and one at the Major League level. So we're going to see all 3 levels of the organization in action today. Let's start with the AA team, the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, who are currently 18-14 on top of the Southern South Division. What an amazing division name. But the team's playing pretty well. We're tied for 6th in all of AA in terms of winning percentage, and most of our top prospects are on the AA roster. So in terms of guys who will eventually be at the big league level, we could see a number of these guys on the AA team there. There's a ton of big names on the offense with guys like Joe Mack, Jacob Berry, Khalil Watson, and others. Some guys to look at in specific, we'll start with Watson, who was a first rounder a couple years ago. He was pretty disappointing in 2022, but so far has gotten off to a strong start this year. Jacob Berry, the team's first rounder last year, hasn't quite gotten off to the start that we had hoped for, but he hasn't been horrible. And then Gennaro Miller, the two-way star, is the guy I'm really excited about. He has shown his two-way potential so far this season as he has been phenomenal on the bump. 2.14 ERA and 42 innings pitched, and his offense hasn't been too bad either. We're not going to pitch with him today because there was somebody else who I really wanted to pitch with, but he is an extraordinarily fascinating player. As we look at the rotation, again, plenty of young guys, such as Gennaro Miller. Guys like Carson Milbrandt and Jacob Miller have been really good. But obviously the big name here is Yuri Perez, the only A potential prospect in the entire organization. He's been quite good so far this year. He's currently the 6th ranked prospect in all of baseball and the 3rd ranked pitching prospect. This is a guy who has the upside to be a future ace, and he is unbelievably polished for just being 19 years old, and he's going to be called up to AAA sooner rather than later. I wanted to make it a point to pitch with Yuri Perez today because, well, he's the number 1 prospect in our organization by far. So we are going to do so here against the Tennessee Smokies, the AA affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, and they have one of their better pitching prospects, Jordan Wicks, on the mound for them. So it should be pretty fun at home at Bayfront Park. You've got a Ferris wheel and a beach and a whole boardwalk setting at this ballpark. So it seems like the place to be. We've got this goofball throwing out the first pitch today. Oh God, what should we expect here? Yeah, right down the middle. I would have taken that one 450 dead center. Here's a look at both lineups. The Blue Wahoos going with their regular guys. On the mound for Pensacola is, of course, Yuri Perez, the number 1 prospect in the Marlins organization. 2.74 ERA, 1.36 WHIP in 7 starts this year. He's probably not going to be in AA too much longer of how well he has performed this year as he starts off strong by striking out Christian Franklin. 2 away here for Jared Young, the 3-2. Young hits that one well over the glove of the first baseman. That'll go for a hit. He's going to look to head for second. The throw from Gerardo is not in time. Jose Gerardo has a cannon in right field, showing it on that play, but he's unable to throw out the runner. That'll bring up Owen Cassidy, the cleanup hitter, who's hitting 141 this year. Goes down looking on the high fastball. So Perez does allow an extra base hit, but overall a pretty solid first inning of work for him. The lefty, Jordan Wicks, is on the bump for the Tennessee Smokies, a former first-round pick a couple years ago from the Cubs, as he faces off against the two-way kid, Gennaro Miller, a teenager hailing from the Bahamas, singles into left field. Miller is probably going to eventually play outfield quite a bit, but for now, we don't want to give him too big of a role, so we're mainly using him as a DH when he plays as a position player. Joe Mack, the catcher, rips this one into left center field. Gennaro Miller's on his horse. He's going to look to score, rounding third. The throw from the cutoff man, well, there is none. An RBI double for Joe Mack, and the Pensacola Blue Wahoos are on the board. That'll bring us into the second now. Reginald Preciado is up for the Smokies, and he takes this one a long way into right field for a home run, and this game is tied up at 1. Preciado with his second home run of the season for the Smokies, who put themselves on the board. Runner on first, 2 away for Bryce Windham. He puts this one into right. Jose Gerardo tries to get after it quickly, but it looks like that'll be a double. The Smokies now have 2 runners in scoring position, and Yuri Perez has kind of gotten rocked a little bit this inning as he faces off against Christian Franklin. Lines it to first, and it's caught by the first baseman, Zach Zubia, who saves probably 2 runs from being scored. Bottom 2. Jose Gerardo, the right fielder, is up, and he crushes this ball into left field. A bat flip and a no-doubter for the 18-year-old outfielder. Jose Gerardo was recently signed as an international free agent by the Marlins, and he's got some incredible physical attributes, great power, great arm. There is some real upside with him, and although he's got a long ways to go in his development, the ceiling with Jose Gerardo is very high, and he's showing it there on that swing. He's not a great contact hitter. He strikes out a lot, but his raw power for an 18-year-old is pretty incredible, and he's putting it on display there with a 420-foot nuke. Let's go bottom 3, back to the top of the order. Victor Mesa gets hit on the kneecap. Did Dan Campbell just give this pitcher a pep talk or something? 2 away now for Jacob Berry, a top 10 pick in last year's draft out of LSU. The switch-hitting third baseman hits this one high and deep into left center as it goes off the wall. It looks like Mesa's going to have to hold up at third, but that'll be a double for Jacob Berry, one of the best hitting prospects in last year's draft. He's a guy who is pretty polished compared to some of the other top prospects in last year's draft. And that'll bring up Khalil Watson with a big opportunity as he lines it to short, and the play is made. Watson hit that one pretty well, and he doesn't hit lefties all that well for what it's worth, but the shortstop makes a nice play. Into the fourth now, Alexander Canario is up for the Smokies, and he goes down looking. Canario was part of the Chris Bryant trade at the trade deadline a few years ago with the Giants. Levi Jordan now puts this one into the corner out and right. Looks like that'll go for a double. The runner from third is going to look to head home. The throw from Khalil Watson is not in time, and the Tennessee Smokies tie it up at 2. Bryce Windham, the number 9 hitter up, he goes down on the changeup. That'll wrap up the top of the fourth. I don't think we caught Yuri Perez on his best day. He really has not looked all that sharp. Bottom 4, Anthony Peguero hits this one into the gap. Another recently signed international free agent, as Peguero has a double. He's only 18 years old, and he's another guy who has a lot of long-term upside. That'll bring up Jose Gerardo, who homered during his last at-bat. Count is full, and Gerardo does it again! This one might have gone even farther than his first homer of the day. Jose Gerardo is putting on a show here in Pensacola. The Blue Wahoos are back on top as that one goes 434 feet for his 6th homer of the season and his 2nd of the ball game. Jose Gerardo is really making a name for himself. Let's go to the following batter, Zach Zubia, up for the Blue Wahoos as it's grounded to short. The shortstop cannot make the play, and that'll go for a base hit. So Zubia is aboard, and the Pensacola offense looks really strong right now. Yiddy Cappy, one of the better middle infield prospects on the team, hits this one into right. Looks like that one is going to drop, and it will, possibly for extra bases, as Cappy's going to head back to first before he probably would have been thrown out at second. Smart decision. Now there's runners on the corners, and one away here for Gennaro Miller. The two-way player hits this one high and deep into right. That should certainly score a run, as it's more than deep enough to sacrifice in the runner. The throw from the cutoff man is not in time, as Zubia scores pretty easily, and it's now 5-2. Top of the 5th, Christian Franklin up for the Smokies as it's grounded to Zubia, who makes a great play at first, sending it over to Perez for the first out of the inning. Perez's pitch count is starting to get kind of high. It's at 92. The full count for Young is going to be hit weakly into the outfield. Yiddy Cappy will make the play. That'll wrap up the top of the 5th, and that'll probably wrap up Yuri Perez's day. 5 innings, 2 earned runs. Not bad, but again, I don't think we caught him on his best night. Bailey Horn comes out of the bullpen for Tennessee. ERA in the mid-3s and around 20 innings of work so far, as he starts with Jacob Berry, who doubled in his last at-bat, and Berry takes a big swing and a miss on the changeup. Let's go to the top of the 6th now. Anthony Maldonado comes out of the bullpen for the Blue Wahoos. 2.3 ERA. He's been pretty solid so far in just under 16 innings of work as he faces off against Owen Cassie, who leads off the inning for Tennessee. Hits it into left. Peguero makes the play! Anthony Peguero with an awesome grab for the first out of the inning. We got to look at this one again. Peguero was slow to react, but he still makes an awesome diving grab. Alexander Canario next up for Tennessee. He swings and misses at the two-seam fastball as we go into the bottom of the 6th. Jose Gerardo is up. He's homered in each of the first 2 of his at-bats. This one stays in the ballpark, but it'll go for another hit down the left field line. Gerardo thinks about 2, goes back to first. He is now 3 for 3 on the day with a pair of homers and now a single. So Gerardo's on first. That'll bring up Yiddy Cape, who takes a big swing and a miss on the changeup. Nice pitch by Bailey Horn as we go into the 7th. Brady Encarnacion is in for the Blue Wahoos. 4.76 ERA in a little under 6 innings as he faces off against Bradley Beasley, who crushes it into left. That one is gone right in front of the scoreboard. And the Tennessee Smokies cut the lead down to 2. As it's now 5-3. Bring us back to the top of the order as Christian Franklin takes a big swing and a miss on the low curveball. Franklin is one of the better prospects in the Cubs organization, but that was an ugly swing and a great pitch. Vinny Nittoli checks in out of the bullpen for Tennessee as he faces off against Jacob Berry, now hitting from the left side of the plate as Berry hits this one well into the opposite field as it goes off the wall. Berry into second, his second double of the night, really showing his ability to swing the bat from both sides as Pensacola's got a runner in scoring position for Khalil Watson, who's been a little quieter tonight, 0 for 3. He does struggle against lefties, now up against the righty, but he strikes out on the low and inside slider. Good inning for Nittoli as we go to the top of the 8th. Andrew Nardi is in for the Blue Wahoos. He has some major league experience as he faces off against Reginald Preciado with 2 away, who singles into left. The throw from Peguero is just not in time. That was a really good throw. And it's now 5-4. The Smokies bring it within 1. That'll bring us to Bradley Beasley. Homered in his last at-bat, and he just homered again into the left center field seats. And the Tennessee Smokies take the lead 6-5. Beasley doubles his home run total tonight. He had 2 going into the game, and he has 2 within the last couple of innings. Jorge Mercedes will need to come in out of the bullpen now as he faces off against Bryce Windham, who pops it into left. Peguero should be able to make the play, but a big couple of innings for the Smokies as they get 1 in the 7th and they get 3 in the 8th to take a 6-5 lead. Manuel Rodriguez is in for Tennessee. He is not allowed a run in 11 innings of work this year. He has been solid. Has not allowed a hit to a lefty yet as he faces off against the first baseman, Zach Zubia. Full count. 2 away, nobody on. Blue Wahoos trail by 1 as he draws a walk. Good at bat, working the count. Now there's a base runner for Yiddy Cafe, who strikes out on the 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Good inning for Rodriguez as we go into the 9th. Christian Franklin leads it off, grounds it to short. Throw from Yiddy Cafe is in time. Look at the split by Zach Zubia. Looking like a gymnast out there. Owen Cassie then strikes out. So the Blue Wahoos get through the 9th with no problem. Now we got to get to the bottom of the 9th with the top of the order due up, down by 1. Brad Wieck has not blown a save opportunity yet this season. He's 13 of 13. We'll see if he can add another one. Wieck faces off against Joe Mack as the Blue Wahoos are down to their last out. Mack weakly pops this one up into the infield. Should be caught, and it will. The Tennessee Smokies win it 6-5. The Blue Wahoos were in control for most of this game. Yuri Perez had a strong 5-inning night, but the bullpen ultimately blew it. Tennessee's offense was a lot better with Perez out of the game. They obviously had the 2 home runs from Beasley. Preciado homered back in the 2nd inning as well. Jordan Wicks was not great, but their bullpen was. Our offense was really good early, especially Jose Gerardo, who homered twice, drove in 3 runs, but the offense was silent the final 4 innings of the game, and the bullpen blew what was a pretty solid start from Yuri Perez. I don't think the AA bullpen will be blowing too many more of his games, as he's probably going to be called up to AAA within the next month or two. So now we're going to shift our attention to the AAA team. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp are 23-18, currently in 3rd place of the International East Division. I've got to say, the Marlins minor league affiliates have some of the best team names in all of baseball. The Jumbo Shrimp had the 7th best winning percentage across all of AAA, and while there aren't as many high-end prospects on this team compared to the AA team, there are some very notable names who are very close to playing in the big leagues, including Xavier Edwards, who's having a really good season. He's going to get called up at some point this year. Jordan Groshans, Victor Mesa Jr., and Gerard Encarnacion are all very solid players who all are playing well this year. Garrett Hampson, I would say, has been the only real disappointment. He's a guy who I really wanted to rejuvenate his career, but with him hitting .230 in the minors, it's not looking great. Sixto Sanchez is the ace of the staff, and he's a very fascinating player because at one point he was a top prospect. He's missed the last 2 seasons with injuries. Here he is in AAA, dominating to start this season. We're going to be pitching with him in today's game, and if he keeps this up, he is going to be called up to the big leagues within the next month or so because he has been very good. There are some notable pitchers who are injured. Dax Fulton's a pretty solid prospect. He's hurt, although he has been really bad this year. Huascar Brazoban in the bullpen is also hurt, and he has also been kind of bad this year. So we're going to be facing off against the Louisville Bats, the AAA affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds. The weather is not great here at Green Valley Stadium, but it is good enough for some minor league AAA baseball as we get a look at the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, who have a number of guys who I think will be contributing on the big league team at some point this season. Guys like Edwards, Encarnacion, Groshans, and more. Brandon Williamson is starting for the Bats. He's one of the better pitching prospects within the Reds organization, and he is a lefty as he faces off against Garrett Hampson, a former top prospect with the Rockies organization. Hits that one off the wall. Hampson's got some blazing speed as he is into second with a double. Garrett Hampson hits lefties really well. That's why he's at the top of the order today, and he starts his night off pretty well. That'll bring up Xavier Edwards, who is raked against left-handed pitching this year. The runner, Hampson, will steal third, so now there's a runner 90 feet away from home. Xavier Edwards has a big opportunity to drive him in. He's hitting .291 this year. He's hitting for good power as Edwards lines this one high and deep in a left field, and it is caught. Nice grab, but Garrett Hampson will tag up with no problem, and the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp are on the board as it is now 1-0. Sixto Sanchez on the bump for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. He's been great this year, 2.39 ERA, a whip barely above 1. Again, he is going to be pitching in the majors very soon as he faces off against Richie Martin. Has spent some time with the Baltimore Orioles, and he goes down to the slider. Jason Vosler is up next, and he gets fooled by the slider. What a pitch by Sixto Sanchez, who retires the side with ease. 1-0 Jacksonville lead as we go into the top of the second. Jordan Groshans is up. 3-1 pitch. Groshans grounds it to short, and that one gets by him for a base hit. Groshans was a big-time prospect in the Blue Jays organization. Things didn't really work out. He was traded to the Marlins last year at the deadline and is hoping he can rejuvenate his career in Miami. Paul McIntosh, the catcher, hits that one off of the pitcher, and that'll go for a single. I mean, that's one way to do it, but we'll take it. And now there's 2 runners aboard here for Peyton Burdick in the outfield, who has not been playing so well this year with a 154 batting average, and he goes down looking on the fastball. Nice pitch by Williamson as we go into the top of the third. Garrett Hampson leads it off, and he will single into right field. Hampson's been a little disappointing this year, but he's 2 for 2 today with a double and now a single. That'll bring up Xavier Edwards, who drove in a run in his last at-bat off of a sacrifice fly. Hampson looking to steal second. Doesn't really matter because Edwards singles anyway. So now there's 2 runners aboard. 2 away for Gerard Encarnacion. Grounds this one up the middle, and the play is made by the second baseman. He does not send a throw to first. The other 2 runners take 2 bases, and so that'll be an RBI for Gerard Encarnacion as Hampson's able to score, and the aggressive base running from Jacksonville pays off. Runners on the corners now for Jordan Groshans. The 1-2, he gets hit. So the bases are loaded now A huge opportunity for the catcher, Paul McIntosh, who singled in his last at-bat. 2-2 bases juiced, swing and a miss on the curveball. In the last episode, we left the bases like 4 or 5 times, so I guess whenever the bases are loaded, we do nothing with it. Michael Ciani strikes out. Good pitch by Sanchez, who is dealing right now. Richie Martin grounds it to second. What a play by Charles LeBlanc to throw him out and end the inning. A phenomenal defensive play by LeBlanc. And the bats are still blanked. Only 1 hit so far for Louisville. Their bats have not gotten off to a good start. Get it? All right, top of the 4th. Peyton Burdick is up for the Jumbo Shrimp. Brennan Williamson still in the game as Burdick goes down looking for a second time today. Again, it's below fastball. Victor Mesa Jr. is up. He singles into right. Victor Mesa from the Double-A team is, in fact, the older brother of Victor Mesa Jr. here. Victor Mesa Jr. is certainly the better prospect of the two. As with 2 away, Xavier Edwards flies this one into center, and he will not be able to drive in Mesa. Although he did hit that ball pretty well, it is encouraging to see Xavier Edwards looking good offensively so far tonight as we go into the top of the 4th. Sixto Sanchez is still pitching at an otherworldly level as he gets Vosler to go down looking. Christian Encarnacion Strand strikes out looking as well. And Sixto Sanchez looks unstoppable. This looks like a man on a mission who is going to be in the big leagues pretty soon. Levi Stouts is in for Louisville here in the top of the 5th. Runner on first, 2 away for Groshans, who grounds it to short. Throw to first is in time and routine. So Jacksonville's unable to get anything there offensively. We'll see if Louisville can put themselves on the board here in the bottom of the 5th. Matt Reynolds strikes out on the slider. Sixto Sanchez continues to be a strikeout machine today, showing no signs of slowing down as he's still only allowed 1 hit. Nick Plummer draws a walk, so that'll give Louisville a base runner, and that'll bring up Brian Ray, who hits this one into right. That'll drop for a hit. So Louisville is starting to get some base runners. They've got 2 aboard with 1 out, and a nice opportunity to put themselves back into the game. Chucky Robinson hits this one into right. That'll score a run pretty easily as Louisville makes it 2-1. Another run looks to score as well, but he is out of there. Good throw by Encarnacion to the cutoff man LeBlanc over to the catcher McIntosh with the tag. So it's still 2-1. Sanchez looking to wrap up the inning against Michael Ciani, and he goes down looking on the outside fastball. That'll probably end Sixto Sanchez's day. 5 innings, 1 earned run. He was phenomenal. He was starting to get rocked a little bit in this inning, which is why he's going to be taken out of the game. And George Soriano will replace him in the bullpen. Soriano has spent most of the season in Double-A. He was pitching pretty well, and he was promoted up to Triple-A. He's pitched 1 scoreless inning so far, facing off against Alejo Lopez with 1 away, who singles into left. So Louisville has a base runner. Their offense continuing to play a lot better as opposed to the first 4 innings of the game. Jason Vosler is up next. He's going to line it into center. That'll go for a hit. And now Louisville has 2 runners aboard here with 1 away. We'll see if they can tie this game or maybe even take the lead, as that'll bring up Christian Encarnacion Strand. 3-1 pitch, low and outside for ball 4. The bases are now loaded. 2 away for Nick Plummer. He's going to line it into left. Louisville ties it with an RBI single, and the bases will remain loaded as we are not up at 2. So that'll present Brian Ray with a huge opportunity to break the game open, and he will. That pitch was not in the zone, but he still hits it well. 1 run scores, a second will join him. It's a 2-run single for Brian Ray, and Louisville takes their first lead of the game as it's now 4-2. So Jacksonville makes a pitching change as Chandler Jazwiak is into the game, facing off against Chucky Robinson, who had an RBI in the last inning. Grounds it to short. Xavier Edwards makes the play, but nonetheless, a big inning for the Louisville Bats as they score 3 and take a 2-run lead going into the 7th. Derek Let's Lay Down the Law is in for Louisville. 4.09 ERA on the year as he faces off against Charles LeBlanc with a full count. And LeBlanc hits this one into the gap. That'll go 4 extra bases. Jacksonville's offense was looking strong early. They haven't been as good these last couple of innings, and now they're going to need to make a rally after that big 6th inning from the Louisville Bats. Runner on third now. 2 away for Herrera Encarnacion, who's 2 for 3. He's driven in a run today, and he strikes out on a nasty 12-6 curve. Good inning for Law. As we go to the bottom of the 7th, Colton Hawk is in for Jacksonville. Hawk was actually a reliever in the Guardians farm system last year in our Guardians franchise, so we get him 2 years in a row. Michael Ciani hits this one into the right center gap. Victor Mesa Jr. is able to track it down, but that'll be a double from a speedy Ciani. 90 speed in scoring position as Jason Vossler looks like he's going to drive him in with a single into center. The throw from Victor Mesa Jr. to the plate is a little bit short. Wouldn't have been on time anyway. And Louisville now leads 5-2 as we go to the 8th. Silvino Bracco is in for Louisville. He's pitched in the big leagues for a number of teams. I would say he spent a majority of his career in Arizona with the Diamondbacks as he faces off against Jordan Groshans, who leads things off, draws a walk. That's a tough pitch to lay off, pretty much right on the corner of the zone, but good at bat. So now he's on second, 1 away for Joe Rizzo coming in off the bench, and Rizzo makes a huge play as he hits it off the wall. Run scores, it's an RBI double for Joe Rizzo, and it's now 5-3. Rizzo plays against righties, so he starts in a majority of the team's games, but since they played against a lefty, Rizzo got the day off. That'll bring up Victor Mesa Jr., who singles into right. Rizzo will wisely hold up at third, and now there's runners on the corners. Tying run is on base. The potential go-ahead run is at the plate, and it's Garrett Hampson, who has a pair of hits today, and he goes down looking on the slider. That one hurts. So now that'll bring up Xavier Edwards with a huge opportunity. 2-2 count, 2 away. And this one is going to be jammed into center. Looks like it'll be caught. So Jacksonville does score 1. They make the game a little bit closer, but it really felt like they could have done more damage. Bottom 8, Colton Hawk stays in the game as he faces off against Matt Reynolds. He'll hit this one into the gap. That'll go for extra bases. Louisville's offense just completely flipped the switch in this game. Through 4 innings, they were awful, and ever since then, they've been great. Jacksonville makes another pitching change as Christian Charlet is into the game. Chucky Robinson singles into center. That'll score another run. Good throw by Mesa, but it's now 6-3. And I don't know if Louisville's done. They've got 2 runners on the corners for Michael Ciani, who hits this one into left field. The offensive outpour continues for Louisville. Ciani drives in a run off of an RBI double. It's now 7-3 with 2 runners in scoring position for Richie Martin, who grounds this one over to Garrett Hampson. Throws the runner out at first. But another runner does score, and it's now 8-3. And then Alejo Lopez singles into left. Throw from LeBlanc is not in time, and it is now 9-3. Jacksonville was in control of this game for a majority of it, and now they're getting killed. Encarnacion lines out to first, and that'll do it. 9-3 is your score. The Bats get the win here. Again, their offense did nothing through the first 4 innings, but afterwards, their bats really got going. Our offense was okay. We did get 12 hits. We hit the ball for solid contact, but we didn't really hit for much extra base power. And then as for the pitching, Sixto Sanchez was great. He looked phenomenal. Was a little shaky in that 5th inning, but he is obviously not the reason why we lost. The bullpen completely blew it, allowing 8 runs in just 3 innings. Got to give credit to Louisville. Their offense really adjusted, and their bullpen pitched quite well. So both of the minor league teams take some losses today. Hopefully the major league team will not face the same fate. We've been playing some really good ball in the month of May. We're 21-22. We've won 7 of our last 10, and we're well in the mix for the wild card. Only 2 back of that 3rd wild card spot. I don't really want to worry about the wild card standings in May, but it is worth noting we are in the race. I think a big reason why we're playing well is the offense has been significantly better in the month of May. Guys like Arias, Segura, and De La Cruz, who struggled in April, have all been great here in the month of May, and the pitching has still been pretty solid. Alcantara and Rogers are still pitching great. Johnny Cueto's had a really good month. I will say Jesus Luzardo is still struggling a lot, but other than him, the starting rotation's been pretty good, and the bullpen has been better in the month of May as well. So we're going to simulate up to this series against the Rockies. Finishing off against the Nationals, we win 7-6, but we only take 1 of 3 against the Giants. So we're 23-24. We've got a series here in Colorado. The reason why I picked this series is because I want to go to Coors, the most hitter-friendly park in baseball. We're going to sim the first game. We lose 5-3. I wanted to pick a weaker pitching matchup as well. I've picked a lot of very strong pitching matchups through the first 4 games that I've played with this team. So now I want to see a weaker pitching matchup at the most hitters-friendly environment in baseball. We should see a lot of offense in this game as we take a look at both lineups. Regular crew for the most part for the Marlins, although Yuli Gurriel is getting the day off. Antonio Senzatela is starting for the Rockies. He has not been very good this year. 7.04 ERA, 1.67 whip. It's been bad. Again, I chose the weaker pitching matchup strategically. As Brian De La Cruz is up for the Marlins, I just want you guys to hear the beautiful crack of the bat right here. That sound is just so pure. De La Cruz hits it well into left center, and that'll go for a double. Brian De La Cruz had a horrendous month of April, but in the month of May, he has completely flipped the switch, and he's been one of the Marlins' best hitters this month and has been a big reason why the team is playing good ball right now. Jazz Chisholm rips it down the first base line. That'll score a run with no problem. Chisholm on his horse as the right fielder cannot field it cleanly, and that'll be an RBI triple. And so the Marlins are on the board as they lead 1-0 very quickly here in the top of the first inning. That'll bring up Jesus Sanchez, who still is struggling, hitting a measly 188. Rips it down the first base line as well. Into the right field corner as it hits off the foul wall. Sanchez slides into second safely. Chisholm obviously scores with ease, and the Marlins take a 2-0 lead. Johnny Cueto is starting for Miami. He's been pretty good in the month of May. I wouldn't say he's been great, but he's been solid. He's been better than Jesus Luzardo, put it that way. As he faces off against C.J. Cron, who grounds it over to Joey Wendell. Quick 1-2-3 inning for Johnny Cueto, who retires the side with no issue. Good start for the Marlins here in the first as they lead it 2-0. Let's fast forward to the top of the second. Jorge Soler is up. He usually doesn't play against righties, but at Coors, I felt like I had to because he's one of the best power hitters on the team as he takes a big swing and a miss there for a strikeout. Joey Wendell up here playing short, batting in the 9-hole, hitting .281 this year. He's been pretty good as he rips this one into right center field, and that one will one hop off the wall. Wendell's going to be aggressive and dart past second, looking to leg it to a triple, but he is just barely out, and the aggressive base running certainly backfires as it's still 2-0 going into the bottom of the second. Ryan McMahon gets hit by the pitch, and the Rockies get their first base runner of the day. That'll bring to Alan Trejo. He draws a walk. Good start to the bottom of the second for Colorado with 2 early base runners. We'll see if they can capitalize as Sean Bouchard hits this one into the right center field corner. It'll go off the wall. 1 run scores. A second will look to join him. The throw from Arise is a good one, but just a little bit not in time. So this game is now tied up at 2 with a 2-run double from Bouchard. And that'll bring up Ezekiel Tovar, who hits this one well into left center, and that one scrapes over the fence for a homer, and the Rockies lead it 4-2. Tovar with his second homer of the season. He is not much of a power hitter at all, but even he can hit homers here at Coors. Charlie Blackmon hits it into right. Sanchez drops it and then falls on the ground. That should have been an out. Then it should have only been a single, and then it turns into a double. That's pretty bad defense by Jesus Sanchez, I cannot lie. That'll bring up Jurickson Profar, recently signed out of free agency, as he strikes out on the fastball, and that'll wrap up the second. Big inning for the Rockies as they score 4. Cueto clearly not pleased with himself as we go into the top of the third. Luis Arise leads it off for the Marlins. Really struggled in April, but he's looking a lot more like his 2022 self here in the month of May as he singles into center. So Arise is aboard to lead off the inning. That'll bring up De La Cruz, and again, I just want you guys to hear the bat crack. Man, that is so great. Don't you just love the sounds of baseball? De La Cruz hits that one just as well as he hit his first one today. Arise will score from first. It's an RBI double for Brian De La Cruz, who has 2 extra base hits so far today, and it's now 4-3. Again, it is so great seeing De La Cruz playing excellent baseball here in the month of May as Jazz Chisholm gets hit on the kneecap. Again, what is this Dan Campbell type of stuff doing here? First and second for Sanchez. He goes down looking on the low fastball. Nice pitch by Senzatela as he now faces off against Gene Segura, who lines it into left. De La Cruz holds up at third, and the bases are loaded. The Marlins have done horribly this year with the bases loaded. Can they finally drive in some runs as Garrett Cooper lines it into left field? That'll score 1. Chisholm holds up at third. He probably would have been able to score in hindsight. But this game is now tied at 4. That'll bring up Jorge Soler. Rips this one into right. That one should score multiple as it hits off the wall. 2-run score. It's a 2-run double. Jorge Soler showing off that Soler power as it's now 6-4. The Rockies get 4 in the bottom of the second. The Marlins get 4 in the top of the third, and they might not be done. Nick Fortes pops this one into center. Profar makes the play. Runner will not tag up, and that's a good decision because he would have been out by a country mile. That'll bring up Joey Wendell now. Got a base hit in his last at-bat. The 3-1. He draws a walk. The entire Marlins lineup has gotten an at-bat in this inning. Arise is up again. Senzatella's at 83 pitches. How is he still in the game? As Arise grounds this one over to second. The play will be made, and the Marlins leave him loaded again. But they did score 4 in this inning to take a 6-4 lead. We wanted offense, and boy, we've gotten offense. No homers from the Marlins yet, but they're still hitting the ball very well. Johnny Cueto looks to hopefully bounce back as he strikes out C.J. Cron on the slider. Let's go top 4 now. Antonio Senzatella is still in the game for Lord knows what reason. Why is he still pitching? He's at 92 pitches. He's been horrendous today. He does strike out Jazz Chisholm, though, so maybe the Rockies are making a good decision here, but I really don't get the logic of keeping him in. Jesus Sanchez is up next, hits this one well into right center field. Sanchez doubled earlier, drove in a run, and he hits another double. Sanchez with 2 doubles today. Senzatella's at 100 pitches, and they're still not taking him out of the game. I just don't get it. He will remain in for Gene Segura's at bat. Segura had a base hit previously as he grounds this one to third. So I guess the Rockies made a good decision by keeping Senzatella here in the 4th inning, but I wouldn't have made that decision, put it that way, and I cannot imagine with him over 100 pitches that he'll be back in the 5th. Let's check in on Johnny Cueto. He still seems to be pitching pretty well as he gets Randall Grichuk to strike out on the circle change. Now facing off against Sean Bouchard. He drove in 2 in his last at-bat, and he goes down on the slider. Johnny Cueto is not a strikeout guy. His strikeouts per 9 this year have been like 5. Yet, he's striking out a lot of guys today. Now against Tovar, it's the slider again. Johnny Cueto's slider has been filthy today as he strikes out 3 batters here in the 4th inning, and we go to the 5th. The former Miami Marlin, Jose Urena, is in for Colorado. He's been bad this year, 7.46 ERA. He has been terrible. He's bounced around since leaving the Marlins. He's been with the Tigers, now the Rockies. As Nick Fortes grounds it to short. What a play! Ezequiel Tovar mishandles the throw, however. They're going to call that an E6. I think that's pretty unfair. That was an awesome defensive play, but he had to make a throw on his knees. I think that should be counted as a base hit. Joey Wendell grounds it into right. Wendell's reached base on all 3 of his at-bats today with a pair of hits and a walk earlier. So that'll give Luis Ariz a nice opportunity to drive in a run or 2 and extend the Marlins' lead. 3-1 pitch. Ariz hits this one high into center, and this one will drop. Okay, that one did not look like it was going to fall, but it does. And now the bases are loaded yet again. Huge opportunity for Brian De La Cruz, who has been excellent today. The 2-1 grounds to short. Ezequiel Tovar will take his time with the throw, and the Marlins leave him loaded yet again. Story of this series, leaving the bases loaded. Bottom 5, Cueto still in at 91 pitches. He probably won't be in for much longer as Jerickson Profar singles into left. I think Cueto's leash at this point is going to be very short. Maybe they leave him in until he allows another base runner. And there you go. C.J. Cron singles into right. Sanchez with another bad defensive play, and because of that, Profar is going to advance to third. So there's runners on the corners. I think Cueto should be taken out of the game here, and he will. The lefty, Tanner Scott, will come in to try to get the Marlins out of the jam. Scott's been really good this year. Sub-2 ERA as he faces off against Alan Trejo, trying to pick the runner off at first. Unsuccessful as Cooper bobbles it. Count is full. Scott taking his time here. He's going to look to pick the runner off again, and he's going to go for second. The Marlins got him in a pickle, and he is out of there. Tanner Scott outsmarting the base runner. That's one way to end the 5th inning, as the Marlins still lead 6-4. Let's go top 6. Jose Urena still in the game as he faces off against Jazz Chisholm. Hey, yo! Jazz Chisholm with a bomb in right field as he flips the bat, and the ball goes into the second deck for a homer, and the Marlins lead at 7-4. That one comes in at 451 feet for Chisholm's 12th home run of the season. And Jazz Chisholm, very quietly, is having an awesome season. His average has really improved. He's hitting around 280. He's hitting pretty well against lefties. His OPS is at like 950 or something. Jazz Chisholm legitimately has taken that next step up and looks like a star for this Marlins team, showing it on this swing. Again, going over 450 feet. That's the fun of playing here in the mile-high altitude of Coors Field in the Rocky Mountains here in Denver, Colorado. Jose Urania will then walk Gene Segura, who looks at the inside slider. That'll bring up Garrett Cooper now. He draws a walk as well. Rough sixth inning for Jose Urania. Again, I don't know why the Rockies are not taking him out of the game. Their pitching coaches and coaching staff are just making some very questionable decisions as Jorge Soler strikes out. And Urania would get out of the inning. So who am I to judge the Marlins' pitching decisions? Trejo lines out to first. Nice play by Cooper. Let's go into the seventh now. Brent Suter, the lefty, is in for Colorado. 3.75 ERA as he faces off against Luis Arraez with a runner on first and no away. Full count here for Arraez. It was a pair of base hits today, and he's not going to make it three as he grounds it to first. 3-6-1 double play. Joey Wendell slid into Ezekiel Tovar's legs at second. That looked kind of dirty, I won't lie. Steven Olkert checks in here in the bottom of the seventh for the Marlins. The lefty's been pretty good this year, 2.84 ERA, trying to keep Miami's comfortable lead as he faces off against Ezekiel Tovar, who singles into center. Jazz Chisholm trips on himself, doesn't really matter. And so the Marlins allow an early base runner as Tovar gets revenge for having Joey Wendell literally slide into him. Charlie Blackmon, the veteran, he's been with the Rockies for a long time, draws a walk. That'll bring up Jurickson Profar, who grounds it to Wendell, to Arraez, to Cooper. 6-4-3 double play. Good job by the Marlins to turn two. This inning really could have gone downhill, and it will not, as C.J. Cron strikes out on the sinker. The Cron zone, more like, go back to the dugout, dude. 7-4, still your score. The Rockies manager not happy that his team did not take advantage of a nice opportunity. Justin Lawrence checks in the game here in the top of the eighth. He'll start with Jesus Sanchez, 2 for 4 today. Grounds it down the line. What a play at third base by the veteran Ryan McMahon, who makes the play for Colorado. McMahon's probably their best position player, other than maybe Chris Bryant, who isn't playing today. JT Chargois checks in here in the bottom of the eighth for the Marlins. His day does not start off great as Alan Trejo singles into right. So the Rockies get an early base runner here with one away. We'll see if they can drive him in. Randall Grichuk, the veteran, grounds to third. What a play by Segura, but he doesn't know where to throw it to. He hesitated. He's like, should I go for the double play or should I not? And, well, he goes for the zero play. As Sean Bouchard hits this one into left center field, run will score. It's an RBI single for Bouchard, and the Rockies make this one a little bit closer as it is now 7-5. Elias Diaz is up next. He draws a walk, and the Rockies have loaded the bases. Chargois will be taken out of the game. He'll be replaced by A.J. Puck, who faces off against Tovar, flies it into center. Caught by Sanchez. Runner looks to tag up. The throw to the plate is in time! They got him! Jesus Sanchez has been awful defensively today, but he makes up for it in a big way with an awesome throw to the plate. And then Jacob Stallings, the catcher, does a good job of quickly tagging the runner. Stallings coming in off the bench as a defensive substitution after Nick Fortes was pinch hit for earlier in the game. Lucas Gilbreth checks in here in the ninth. He'll face off against Yuli Gurriel coming in off the bench for the Marlins. Gurriel hits this one high and deep in a left field. Back at the track, it is gone! Solo home run for Yuli Gurriel, making a play off the bench. And the Marlins extend their lead, adding some insurance as it's now 8-5. Gurriel with his fourth homer of the season. That ball would not have been a home run at most parks, but of course, it sure is. Dylan Floro is in for the save. He's 13 for 15 in save ops this season as he starts with Charlie Blackmon, who singles into right. Okay, the Rockies are going to give a fight here, even though they're down by 3. Doesn't look like they're going to quit. Jurickson Profar singles into right. Okay, maybe there's something going on here. The tying run is at the plate, and there's nobody out. Can the Rockies complete what would be an incredible comeback as Ryan McMahon draws a walk? Bases are loaded. Tying run is aboard. The winning run is at the plate, and it's Alan Trejo who rips it down the line and fair. Yuli Gurriel's going about as fast as a snail to get that ball. 2-run score. A third will look to join. The throw to the plate is not in time, and the Rockies tie it at 8. With a 3-run double by Alan Trejo. From there, the Marlins make a pitching change as Matt Barnes is into the game against Randall Grichuk. He crushes it into right center, and the Rockies are going to walk it off. 2-run homer for Grichuk, and the Marlins choke what was a very comfortable lead going into the bottom of the 9th inning. The Rockies score 5 to walk it off with a 3-run double by Trejo and a 2-run homer by Randall Grichuk. So in all 3 games that we played today, we had a lead late in the ball game, and we lost all 3 of them. The AA team, the AAA team, and the big league team all choked very winnable games. So an unfortunate loss here. We wanted offense, and boy, we got offense today. 18 total runs, 30 total hits. The Marlins hit the ball very well. 16 hits, 8 runs. The offense was great. We hit for good power. We hit for good contact. A lot of doubles. A lot of extra base hits, which is really, really good to see. And unfortunately, the pitching, specifically the bullpen, blew it. I thought Johnny Cueto was fine. I know he had the one Rocky inning. Get it? Because we're playing the Rockies. But other than that, he was fine. I think it was the bullpen who really lost us this game. I mean, allowing 5 runs in the 9th inning, can't do that. We had other opportunities to win this game. We let the bases loaded multiple times. We had a couple bad defensive plays. And obviously, allowing 5 in the 9th is not going to help your case. So a pretty rough loss there. We're going to simulate through this Angels series. I would have played against the Angels if we would play against Shohei Ohtani if he was going to pitch, but Ohtani did not pitch, so I figured I would just simulate right through it. We ended up splitting the last 2 games against the Rockies and then taking 2 of 3 against the Angels. We beat the Rockies 12-1 in this game. The offense exploded, and Sandy Alcantara pitched a complete game. I don't know why we would have kept Alcantara in up by 11, but okay. We had some very interesting performances against the Angels, too. Jesus Luzardo really struggled in this game. We lost 13-2. He allowed 7 runs in just 2 innings, and his ERA is now in the 7s. It has been a disastrous season for Jesus Luzardo, and he's already allowed more runs than he did in all of last year in not even half the innings. With how well Sixto Sanchez is playing, we might need to make a switch with Sanchez in the rotation and Jesus Luzardo a little time in the minors to try to figure some things out. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Johnny Cueto pitched a complete game shutout against the Angels, so that's cool. And that's going to wrap up the episode. We've made it pretty much through all the way of May. We're 26-28, so right around 500. Even though we lost and choked all 3 games in hilariously different ways, I hope you guys still enjoyed the episode nonetheless. We're going to get back into some more scouting in the next episode as well, so that should be fun. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And of course, don't forget to use code OctagonalGaming for $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Peace out.